Zach, just share a little bit about, who you are, your business, what it is. Just kind of give us a little bit of a snapshot of who you are for, anybody that hears this that doesn't know.
Yeah. So, like I said a minute ago before we started the recording, DS Duggins Welding, it's the primary business. It's the main focus right now. Done a lot of cool stuff in a relatively short amount of time throughout my career, in different industries too. So Duggins started in 1986 by Derek Duggins. He had a pickup truck and a welding machine. He grew it from a one-man show to, when I started in 2013, I was still in school. We were running probably 25, 30 folks, which was roughly, 4 or 5 crews. And then I kind of just worked my way up literally from the ground up, from unloading steel to marking center lines to learning how to rig. So I learned a little bit about a lot of different things similar to the classroom whenever I was in school at UNC Charlotte. But there's not a whole lot that I haven't done out there, which I think made the transition back in 21 when I went from employee to employer, made the transition a little
Yeah.
easier. Being a relatively young guy with most of my team members older than me, and their experience in the field, hands on, greater than what I had. I think just being out there and doing it, even at a young age, the respect was there. And so the transition was a whole lot smoother. Um, but yeah, in a nutshell, we do conventional structural steel erection on commercial projects all over North Carolina and a little bit up into Virginia, specifically Liberty
Okay.
University.
So how did you go? I mean, what's the story there? How did you go from working for the company to owning the company?
Yeah. So I went to UNC Charlotte for engineering, construction management specifically. And so I knew obviously the construction industry is where I was going to go. Got some family history, not necessarily in the steel industry, but in construction. And so I've always had an interest in it. I love building stuff. I like working with my hands. I don't necessarily do that too much anymore. But that's where I started, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, it didn't take long after I was, started out in the field again from the bottom. I spent, I guess, altogether about 2 years out in the field, getting my boots dirty, and then transitioned into the office where I started estimating. And that was about 2015, end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And from there, as time went on, I just took on more and more responsibility voluntarily. And then I was trusted with that responsibility by the owners, Derek and Tammy Duggins. But it didn't take long before I realized like I want to run this company or hopefully buy it one day. And so those conversations started pretty early. I'd say probably around 2015, 2016 with Derek Duggins, just sipping some bourbon in his basement and kind of talking about what his exit strategy was. And as a 20-some-year-old kid at the time, he's probably thinking
Right.
I'm full of doo-doo. But um,
You weren't just a 20-something-year-old kid. You had a pretty promise. I mean, I would think that with your music background, you could pursue that if you wanted. So this was
yeah,
like a different path.
for sure. Yeah, we talking about the music deal a little bit, completely different industry, obviously, but we'll credit a lot of the leadership skills that I've learned to that because even though we're playing in bars and it's not very difficult to motivate some folks that may have some words of encouragement. Everything leading up to that, it was still a business, right? So we're working with booking agents and venues and things like that, and being the front man, I was leading that team. So yeah, I had, I guess, a little bit of leadership experience through
Okay.
that. And early on in my career at Duggins, I'd work Monday through Thursday, maybe half day on Fridays. We'd hit the road, get play Friday night, Saturday night, come back Sunday, and then do it all again the next week. So
Wow.
yeah, it was basically 2 full-time jobs because in the music industry, everybody only sees the bright lights on Friday and Saturday night. They don't see all the work that goes into it just to get there.
Wow. Wow. So, where in this journey did you start seeking some leadership direction? I know you've joined at least one group recently for kind of, entrepreneur business development. When did from a 20-year-old that was kind of like, okay, I'm talking exit strategy here and kind of making a decision. Where did that come? Because you're a little past 20 at this moment.
Yeah, I'll be 31 this year. So, I've spent a few years now in, personal development and growth. Um, I would say it started, early on. Whenever I say it didn't take long before I knew I wanted to run the business. That's about as much as it was, right? I had no real business experience. I couldn't read a P&L or a balance sheet or anything like that. So I just knew I wanted to be successful and I wanted to run the business. And so I started digging into YouTube and went down the rabbit hole and found a lot of who I consider mentors now, right? A lot of folks I listen to their podcasts and a couple that I've been on their podcasts. Um, and it's really, from that, watching some videos, learning, these people are saying the same thing, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Everybody's saying the same thing, just in a different way. And certain people I resonate better with. But start following them, listening to them, and then get into the mastermind scene,
Yeah.
joining some groups. I've been a part of 3 or 4 at this point. And down the road, hope to have my own. But getting in those mastermind groups, getting in those rooms with people that have that experience beyond anything that I can touch. They've been there, done it. They've got the experience. But in doing that, what it's done for me is I can learn from their mistakes, and hopefully I don't have to make it. And it's certainly accelerated the success journey from A to B to C to all the way to Z, wherever I end up, a whole lot faster than if I was just doing it at home.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What were there any, like if someone heard this, is there any like particular podcasts or people that you would say made a big impact on you that you'd recommend someone else pay attention to?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of Bradley's podcasts, Dropping
Okay.
Bombs, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Ryan Stewman, Brian Kobe. Those are all some good ones. Some of them are a little more explicit than others, but
Yeah,
The
especially
first
Andy.
few.
Especially Andy. Brad some, but yeah, definitely Andy for sure.
yeah, yeah.
The twins are not around during that podcast, right?
No, that's usually windshield time. I don't. Somebody asked me yesterday, "Do you have Sirius XM in your truck?" I'm like, "No, I listen to podcasts all the time." Right? It's about
Yeah,
all.
absolutely.
But yeah, those are some that I can rattle off just because I listen to them a whole lot.
Do you feel like exposing yourself to that type of information helped you have confidence, or did you just kind of go in saying, you know what, I'll buy the company from this guy, and whatever happens happens, or did kind of exposing yourself to what's possible out there play a role in that? I mean, I'm kind of curious because that's a big bite to chunk off.
It is, and we're a relatively large company, right? So we grew well over 100% first year of ownership. We went from about
Wow.
30 team members whenever I bought it to at the highest last year we were running 55 on average, and we're kind of stable at the 47 to 50 a week right now. In our industry, there's a lot of turnover, but I feel like we have less than average. But as far as like exposing myself to that information, I knew that I didn't know anything, right? Whenever it comes to, especially business leadership and just leadership in general. And so I knew I had to expose myself to that type of stuff in order to get to where I wanted to get to. It sucks that a lot of times age does play a factor, but especially in our industry, like you got a young kid that's going to be taking the reins of a relatively large company. You've got to put your money where your mouth is and show them that you know how to lead. You're going to be looking out for their best interest. And so it was very intentional, right? So I wanted to put as much into my brain as I possibly could and retain what little my little pea brain will keep in there. But yeah, so it was super intentional. I knew I needed to learn from people that, again, have already been there, done that, so that I knew what I was talking about whenever the time did come.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess kind of like what brought us here. We could talk a lot about personal development. I really enjoy the subject matter. But I'm just like,
Masterminds, yeah.
I really want to hear a little bit about this because I think this is what's most unusual in this situation. It's really not common, you know this, but I'm just saying it out loud. It's really not common for people in construction, much less heavy construction, to do anything with content creation. I'm not even sure. I think digital marketing is even a stretch. Typically trades, construction, they're what, 2 generations of of that type of thing behind, of marketing behind, like what's actually happening out there. What made you feel, is it because, and I know we're younger, right? So maybe there's like that aspect to it, so we're more exposed. But what made you say, you know what, I want to kind of bring some of these things into what I do, even though when I look around, I don't see other people doing it? Is that why you did it? I'm just very curious why you decided to kind of take that.
What motivated you?
Yeah, that's a better way to say it.
Yeah. We don't see a lot of social media or folks, putting stuff out on social media specifically in our industry. And that's not necessarily why I started content creation. And just to be frank, I hate social media. I don't enjoy the Facebook, the Twitter, and all that kind of stuff. Like whenever I get on there, I post and I leave. I'll come back a day later, maybe later on in the evening, to respond to some comments and things like that. But I'm not doing it for me, right? I feel like I've learned enough so far and going to continue learning that I can help other people, right? And so you're best set up to help the previous you, right? And so if there's any entrepreneurs, which is what I was prior to buying the business, treating
Right.
it if it was mine and knowing that was the next step, what was good for entrepreneur to entrepreneur. I can specifically help those types of people, but I'm also, you know, it's a byproduct that exposure of myself to other people is just helping our company as well. So because there's not a whole lot of us doing it in our industry, a lot more people see me, right? If they're on LinkedIn, I've got the company logo and everything in a lot of the videos that I put out. So it's obviously about getting the company out there. It's about getting the name out there, but it's also giving me some opportunities personally to get on some stages and, just kind of get my story out there, which, we could go back all the way to day one, and it's quite elaborate, but again, done a lot of cool stuff in a short amount of time. And so I almost feel like it's a responsibility to share what I know so that I can help other people.
I mean, I think that's great. I think your motivation is in the right place. What I love that you just shared is you don't personally enjoy social media. And I think that's worth saying, because you don't have to enjoy it to take advantage of it in a business sense, in a professional sense. It's not about pleasure. There's reasons to do it. You don't have to like it to create content and put it out there, right? You don't have to be somebody who just wants to scroll TikToks or reels or whatever, to make impactful content. It's not the same thing. You put it out, you come back, you check it, you respond to people's comments. You can be even interactive and not necessarily it be your pastime, to just hang out on social. So I think that's a valuable thing to say. Have you seen benefits in your business from doing it?
Absolutely. We just because I'm posting, and I'm only posting once or twice a week. However, LinkedIn especially, if you're connected with folks, it doesn't. I may see somebody post something from 4 months ago. It may show up.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, we've definitely seen some new customers and potential customers. Case in point, yesterday there's a big fabricator out in Charlotte that I carried out to play golf in a tournament. We really didn't talk about any work, not much of it anyways, just gauging what their interests are, talking about anything other than work and developing relationships, because that's the name of the game. It's a huge industry, but it's also a really, neighborhood type feel in this area, because we're working with the same subcontractors and the same general contractors on a lot of different projects. But getting back to the social media stuff, because I've done it and because there's not that many people in our industry doing it, it's certainly introduced me to potential customers. And not just that, but getting in these organizations as well, specific to construction, not just the masterminds. That's also getting me in front of these people. So you meet them in person. The first thing all of us do is go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, look up the person you just met that gave you the card that you're not going to keep, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Then you add a friend on Facebook, and then before you know it, if you're doing things like I am and promoting the business and promoting the leadership and the personal development stuff, they're seeing it and they're like, "Hey, I like this guy." There's 3 reasons people ever want to work with you, and you probably heard it before, but it's know, like, trust, right? People got to get to know you. Hopefully, they like you, and then once you kind of develop that rapport, then they can trust you to serve them. right? And we're in a service industry. So that's a long-winded answer, but yes, it certainly helped with some potential customers, and we've earned a few new ones.
Yeah. Do you think that has it helped build trust for you with some of those newer relationships?
I think so. I mean, I try to promote my team as much as I can, posting photos of job sites and, even internally handing out plaques and awards and things like that. So, um, if these potential customers and new customers see our work, that see we're doing pretty cool stuff out there, I think that just proves to them they can trust us to take on some bigger projects. We got one specific customer that we got our foot in the door by doing change orders for them. So they're huge, huge company. They have these big nationwide directors coming in, putting up these big projects for them. Well, they leave, they're on to the next one. They can't come back to do the little $5,000 change orders. So they call
Yeah.
us. We do a good job. And now, we've seen a half dozen ground up projects with them, one of which is the biggest we've done to date over Apple University.
Very
Oh,
cool. Very cool. I
oh,
love to hear that. So I'm also interested because I think this is the other objection that guys have is it's hard. It's too hard to create content. I don't have time to do content. Yeah, I know I should. I think for the most part, people have gotten past the I know this is something I probably should be doing, but then actually doing it's another thing. So how much time do you spend on it? And what is your creation process like that you can fit in those couple of posts a week?
Yeah, if I don't put whatever I'm doing every single day, every single week on my calendar, it doesn't get done. So I schedule a block off 30 minutes on Tuesday, 30 minutes on Thursday at like 8:30 in the morning, while executives and people in leadership positions are usually eating breakfast and scrolling, right? So I'm intentional on the time that I'm posting. As far as like creating it, it's been, I don't want to say easy, but it's been a whole lot easier as I've learned the tricks to the trade, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And a lot of the content that I do comes from interactions like we're having right now through podcasts. And you can repurpose, we can talk for an hour on a podcast and you can repurpose 20 different clips to have different
Right.
videos. In the mastermind, specifically Apex, if I can give them a plug, they're a group down in Texas, but met a guy through that. I'll send him raw video. He's got some VAs that work on it and create reels for me. So, I pay for the reels to be done. He sends them to me, and all I got to do is post.
brilliant. Yes. And I
He,
think that's a big thing that a lot of business owners don't realize right now. Like there are solutions out there to help. They don't have to go hire a video production team to follow them around like Gary V or whatever. Like it's simple. I really even liked the one that you just did the other day that had nothing to do with business, which was completely comical, right? Like you know what I'm talking about, the golf.
yeah.
And it showed your personality. And it was probably, I'm gonna guess, wasn't that much planned out, right? Or was it?
No, I was actually at the eye doctor last Friday morning, and I was watching the U.S. Open while I'm waiting, and I see all these golfers. They've got more sponsors on their shirts and hats than a NASCAR fire suit. So I'm sitting there thinking,
Yeah.
I'm like, after every post round interview, they never thank their sponsors. And so, I grew up around racing. Obviously, I love NASCAR. My wife worked in it for a while. She was actually a digital media manager for Chip Ganassi Racing for several years.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about it, and I'm like, I want to make a video just because I think it'd be funny. If post round golf interviews were like NASCAR interviews, here's my take.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet you got some love on that,
Yeah.
didn't you? Did you have you looked at the
Yeah,
views of it?
I don't know how many views it's got. I haven't checked, but I think like the first day when I looked, it was over 1,000 or something like that in just a few hours. So it's getting around. I don't know that I posted it at the right time for it to circulate as well as some other videos, but I had a good time with it. The boys were down for a nap, and I'm just gonna make this video, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. Do you just make videos with like your phone camera or do you have equipment or
I've got a phone. Yeah, the technology in these things is ridiculous. Like it's got a really good
Yeah.
camera. I've got a tripod that I use whenever I speak on stages, so I can set my phone up, plug a wireless mic into it, and then clip it on. So as far as equipment, I may have a couple $100 invested, but
yeah.
um, I wear the mic, the wireless mic, just so I've got clear audio.
Perfect.
The phone's obviously doing its thing, just recording the whole time. And then, yeah, utilizing Scott, the guy that I met in the Apex, him and his team, I think they do a really good job with creating the reels. And it's so much easier if you can get on some podcasts. I don't care if one person watches it or 1,000. Like, it's the content that you need, right? It doesn't matter how many people listen to it or see it, but if you can, again, take that video, that raw footage, chop it up, you've got within an hour, you've got 20 different reels. That's 20 days worth of content that you can post.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask, you brought up LinkedIn. Can you, for anybody that is hesitant or thinks LinkedIn is like this dead old place that you only search for jobs, what is your experience? Well, why would you recommend LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is certainly more, directed towards business and those types of interactions for sure. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard LinkedIn's the fastest growing social media platform out there right now.
Okay.
But it's great for business. You can see so many people that are in your industry that maybe you don't even know, or you've heard of them but never met them before. I will say there's a lot of, not spam, but I get
DMs.
detailers over in India or wherever else they may be, which they're needed and they do a good job. We specifically don't need them because we're supplying labor only. So it can get a little frustrating whenever you got 50 messages, then they're all trying to sell you something. But
Yeah.
I think LinkedIn, especially for business purposes, just to get in front of potential customers, like I said, and those people seeing these reels that I'm putting up, they're 30 seconds to a minute long, right? It's not taking a whole lot of time, but it's super helpful to get in front of potential customers, new customers, and even if not, like there's people just scrolling like they are on Instagram on there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So will we see you on TikTok soon?
I actually just started a TikTok and put that golf video on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I need to add it. I've got a simple spreadsheet that says this reel goes out on this day. I've got all the different platforms, and as soon as I post it, I'm highlighting it green to check it off. But back to the question on how much time am I putting in? Maybe an hour a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a reasonable amount, and you're calendaring it, right?
Yep. Again, if
Yeah.
I don't record it, it doesn't happen.
That is such good advice. If I had scripted to share good advice for you to share, that would have exceeded it. So that's awesome. I love that you have a big business, a busy schedule, and still plenty of time to do something that is benefiting your business that a lot of people are not willing to do. And I think more than anything, I hope that that's encouraging, to the next guy who says, I'm not sure if I have time, or I don't think I can do that, or I don't have the equipment, or I don't know what I do, that's really good advice, especially like being a part of interviews. Like, people totally underestimate how valuable these conversations are, just full of social media nuggets that you can use. And we'll definitely make sure to get you this footage if you're not already recording it. So yeah, I think that's really awesome. I love to see what you're doing. We look forward to continuing to follow you.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about, moving forward? It can be your business, it can be with content, it can be with anything. I'm just totally curious. As an entrepreneur, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, my team comes first. And so as long as we can keep that backlog heavy and we know we got work coming up, I know they're going to be putting food on the table, their bills are paid. That excites me. Like, whenever I can hand out quarterly bonuses because we're doing so well, that's my flex, right? I don't drive a fancy sports car. I don't have a mansion or anything like that. But whenever I can help my team and hopefully help their family, not just for a week, right? But into the foreseeable future. That's what I get most excited about. So as long as we keep making money, my guys are going to be compensated, above their hourly wage and that check on Friday. And that excites me more than anything within business. Now, personally, we're going to probably open some more businesses. I'm looking to get into some real estate this year. I've got West Wild Beard Company. It's going well. Looking to hopefully have some more time so that it can grow into what I know it can become. The music deal, not playing any music anymore, other than the house and singing in the
The
shower.
bedtime's a little earlier.
That I wish I could get in bed as early as I want to. But we got twin boys, get them down. Still got a house to straighten up and dishes to do and things like that. Emails to catch up on. Still emailing at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. But I'm excited for whatever may come and everything that I hope I can make happen. Right. One thing that I've learned, especially with twins, like it's not in my control. I can make all these plans and say I'm going to do this or do that. And hopefully it's in line with what God wants me to do. But at the end of the day, it's up to Him.
Yeah. So, is there any place in the next year that we might expect to see you on a stage or podcast that we don't know about if somebody wants to come and hear you speak?
So I spoke at the Steel Erectors Convention earlier this year. They just sent out an email this week for applicants to apply for a slot for next year's convention. I may do that. I've also got a coach that I've been working with over the last 3 months or so. Podcasts are probably going to be booked a whole lot more than getting on stages, just because, again, everything is so busy. So it's easy and not super time consuming. You don't have to travel for a podcast most of the time, right? You just put the camera on and go. So certainly going to be some more podcasts to come. Stages, coming once we get into next year, I'm looking to do maybe once every other month. So I'll be applying for more of those types of opportunities, but we'll see. It's not the focus, but I've been blessed to have those types of opportunities just from posting a couple minute-long videos each week.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
very, very cool. Well, I want to respect your time. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for hopping on today and sharing your story. It's very cool. I hope we can continue digging into different parts of it more in the future. But yeah, it's very cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
super
would love
appreciate
to.
it.
I appreciate you guys having me, and it was a good conversation. We can do it again and block off some more time. But I want to say this: I am not anywhere near an expert whenever it comes to social media, right? So what I'm doing, if it's working, great, but I don't know the technicalities or the algorithms or anything like that. I just know people, in my position and in leadership and management and things like that. I know somewhat what their schedule looks like. And so I think if I'm going to be on my phone, what time is it going to be? Okay. So whatever you're doing, whoever's listening to this, whatever your industry is, your schedule is probably similar to the folks that you want to get in front of. So just if there's any strategic advice I can give, that would be it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And just press record because
That's it.
good things can come from it, right?
If you don't like it, just delete it and start over.
It really is that simple. It's a whole lot easier to delete a video you don't like than to have built something out of steel and be like, it's not right.
Yeah, if that video is out of tolerance, we just delete it. If that building's out of tolerance, we're up.
Yeah.
Great that you don't want to be.
Zach, I'm going to challenge you. Have you ever watched American Pavement Contractor?
American Pavement Group.
I want you to go on Instagram and look them up. So he
does a fair amount of LinkedIn too. Brian, right?
Matt does.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay.
He started on Instagram, but he started by just trying to promote their business. And so this is the level, this is the bar. He set the bar for you next, and he has a videographer that follows them around. So it's American Pavement Specialist.
Okay.
Is who it is. And so we're gonna be looking for videos coming up of the guys doing the work up there. And I know not OSHA danger stuff, but because you guys are completely in compliance. But we're gonna see the work happening on. So like maybe we can collaborate sometime on that, because I'd love to see some of this cool stuff. Because even though people think it's probably not cool content, I am betting that it is awesome content if we put some cameras out there and checked it out. So
get some cameras and a drone out there, put some cool music behind it. It can make it.
What day you want to do it?
One of these days we'll have to come out and shoot some content on a cool job site. That would be a blast. We'd love to do it.
Absolutely. We'll schedule something hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Sounds
awesome.
good,
well,
man.
thank you so much for coming. I know. Let's end it and wrap up and press the button.
Thanks, Zach.
Oh no, wait. Press the button.